Hey there, so this latest episode of the vlog comes to you from deepest, darkest Preston. I'm actually out at a friend's, well, I'll show you something first and see if you can figure out what this is. Do you know what that is? Well, that's what's growing in this particular place where I am. I'm around at somebody's house and looking at their quail farm. So this is the most random place that I've ever done a vlog, I think. I think for me the tenuous link related to what I'm actually going to chat with you guys about and where I actually am is that the person who I'm going to discuss has a similar colour hair to a quail, I think. Fairly similar anyway, looking at them. So I wanted to just talk with you a little bit about Donald Trump. I've been struck recently by let's be honest, over the last year or so since he came to power, everybody's been struck by very many things, haven't they? But I'm struck recently by something to do with actually people being part of Donald Trump's team. I have no particular political affiliation. I really, if I was American, I wouldn't identify as Republican or Democrat. That's pretty much the way that I work over in the UK as well, to be honest. So I don't have a particular strong political bias at all in this. But what struck me was the rate at which Donald Trump has gone through team members. Like his core senior team just seems to be falling by the wayside over and over again. There's more people that resigned than were fired, but I guess many of those people, a lot of pressure was put on them to resign as well. And what struck me actually was the difference in terms of being in Donald Trump's team in comparison to being part of other teams or belonging amongst and with other leaders. Donald Trump obviously needs the brightest, the best, and the quickest, the most decisive, and in many senses the strongest people, because they are one of the biggest, most powerful nations in the world. But what struck me is just how quickly he's gone through many of his top staff. So it said apparently in the first year he set a record out of all presidents' first years. He's like a firing or resignation rate of twice any other president. So Ronald Reagan is in second place for his first year. I think Donald Trump lost like 34% of his staff in the first year. Ronald Reagan lost half of that in his first year. So it's quite incredible that Donald Trump set that record in terms of his attrition rate for staff. There's obviously going to be loads of reasons for that, and what I'm about to say now, I'm really hoping that that this never makes its way to Donald Trump, because otherwise he might absolutely love it. What struck me, he might love the comparison I'm going to make. What struck me was the difference between being in Donald Trump's team and actually being in a team with Jesus Christ and being part of Jesus Christ's team. I guess as a church in Preston, we're building a community of people where actually if you don't perform well, if you don't do well, if you don't act in a way that's up to scratch, that you don't lose your job or you don't lose your community. That actually we're building the kind of community where people belong and we love them and they're our friends, even when the behaviour or what they say or what they do is far less than actually what we ourselves might hope for ourselves or for them. That we actually keep holding on to people and loving people even when they're in that in a situation which is an absolute mess. In a governmental situation, you need people of great competence, but it's clear as well that when people mess up, they quickly get fired. And it's very easy for us to look at Trump and think that that's just a Donald Trump thing. Actually, in all of our society, you do lose your job if you don't do well enough. If you are not adequate for the role, you are fired. But that's in sharp contrast to the way that actually I see things happening with Jesus Christ. So when Jesus called people to himself, he didn't call people who were adequate, who had their act together. He actually called people who had everything wrong. They were messing up. Jesus knew that Judas was going to totally betray him and rebel against him. Jesus called Matthew the tax collector to him, who was basically a sellout, who was serving the Roman Empire at the time as a tax collector and screwing over his own people, the Jewish people. I mean, Peter, like, let's be honest, Peter must look back at what even he himself or his friends wrote in the Bible and go, oh, boys, I wish I hadn't done that. Peter, the apostle, totally messed up over and over again. And yet we see this incredible thing with Jesus Christ, that he's not looking for people who are adequate, who are going to meet the standard, who are going to be good enough for him. But what he actually looks for is people who will say, do you know what, I am not good enough. And actually, Jesus, I need you. I need you to be king over my life, and I need you to take the punishment for me. I need you, Jesus, to be adequate where I'm not adequate. So it struck me seeing Donald Trump and the way that he's absolutely ripped through his staff team initially in his first year, and also comparing that to Jesus Christ and belonging in Jesus Christ's team. So I'm here actually at a friend's house at a small group at the moment. We're a bunch of friends who meet together every Thursday night, and it's so good knowing that even when I mess up, even when I'm not in a good mood, not in a good place, I don't get everything right, I still belong amongst these guys, and these guys love me because they know that Jesus Christ has loved them. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that, and yeah, hopefully hear from you in any comments or anything like that down the bottom. Cheers.